Hey, welcome to Let's Go. Today we're coming to you all the way from the land of Israel. That's right, the Holy Land. More specifically, the Galilee. That's where I'm at right now, in the Galilee. In fact, right there is the Sea of Galilee. So, you ready? Let's go. Okay, now before we get to the location where we're wanting to go, I want you to see it from this side. You see, like I said, that's the Sea of Galilee right there, okay? And we're on the east side, and we're wanting to go to the west side, which is also known as the Galilee of the Gentiles. But you see, the interesting thing is, on that side, there's only ruins of one city. Matter of fact, let me see if I can step up here on this high spot, and you'll see right around, if I'm looking at my monitor correctly, right around over here, okay, is where ruins are of a city on a hill all by itself. Okay, when we get there, I'll go into some details regarding it. But the funny thing is, to the west side is where Yeshua gives his Sermon on the Mount. Okay, he talks about the Beatitudes and all that stuff, and he says, you are to be a city on a hill. And it's very easy that Yeshua could have thrown his hands that direction and says, hey, you are to be the city on a hill. So, today, that is where we're going. Okay, so right now we're going into the ruins of the city itself, where people lived. And just for real quick, let me show you what is believed to be a rich man's home, okay? You have an olive press right here, okay? You actually have steps. At this point, you can see where they would step up into a second floor. And it would seem as if this is like the courtyard, and you had multiple rooms over here, okay? And then you have a room there, room here. And so it's just, again, there's so many ruins here. But this is where we would see someone would stay, and here's in the middle of the room, you see this stand. Most likely where everybody would put their lamp to light the whole room. Now that being said, let's read a verse. Okay, this is Matthew 5:14. You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. Now again, this is where I believe very firmly that Yeshua, when he's saying this, he could have just brought his arm up and pointed across the lake and said, look guys, you can't hide that thing. You're the same way. Verse 15, it says, neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. Notice it says how the lamp is to give light to the room. It's not used to shine in people's eyes. It's placed in the midst of the room to help people see. In other words, it's supposed to help people see the truth, to come to the understanding of the scriptures. And too often we forget that is completely dependent on how we present the truth. I mean, think of it this way. Have you ever been woke up early in the morning, okay, or even in the middle of the night or whatever, and someone just turns the lights on and you're in a dead sleep? What do? Oh man, come on. It's abrupt, and it's not welcoming. It's not inviting whatsoever. We can't do that to people. I feel all too often, yes, I said feel, I know we're not supposed to go on feelings, but it seems, let me say it that way, it seems all too often people do that with the scriptures. They take the light and just shine it into people's eyes, and when they're not ready to receive it. And it's like we forget that this is supposed to be done in love. We have to be the city on a hill, a beacon of hope, a beacon that radiates hope all around, not a glaring, you got to change this, you got to do that type of a thing. And it concerns me that all too often, the very thing we're trying to do out of a passion, I get it, it's a passion, but that passion needs to be bridled, needs to be pulled back, and realizing that we have to realize how they're viewing us. Because that's the important thing. You can have the right heart, the right motive, the right intention, all of it packaged together. I get it. But if we're not presenting it in a way that they're going to receive it, we could be doing the exact opposite of the very thing we're wanting to do. We're trying to pull them when in reality, we're just pushing them away. Now, the Mount of Beatitudes is right there. I don't know if you can see it through all the haze that we have this evening, but it's right there. And to me, the mere fact that Yeshua says you can't, hide a city on a hill, I tend to think that he said that towards the evening hours, probably later than what we've even got here. And those lights of this city would have started shining out. He would have just gestured that direction, and they would have known exactly what he was saying. Because this city is the only one on this whole mountainside. Nothing. Everyone on that side of the Galilee, they would have seen it every night. It would have been a beacon all by itself. And all too often, I think that people feel that way. They feel they're the only one. And when they feel they're the only one, there's pressure that comes on them. And that wants to make them basically dim their light a little bit so they don't stand out quite so much around everybody else. Or it can also make them just want to blend in with it, right? Turn the light completely off. And either way, you're either giving in or you feel like you need to dim it down. And then there's those who can even get depressed because you feel you're the only one who's walking this walk around you. There's no one for miles and you feel you're the only one. And then you've got the exact opposite on the extreme of the spectrum. It actually charges people up and it makes them want to shine their light even brighter, thus shining into people's eyes. And the sad part of it is, it's like in either of those situations, the light that we're supposed to be shining can actually be ending up, well, like this, in ruins. So, how do you let your light shine? Do you let your light shine? And if you do, well, what's your attitude in it? Right now, we're walking in the amphitheater, if you will, of this fallen city. Right here is where you're looking at the staging, where they had all their plays. You can see the ornate form of the stage itself. Over here you see marble, broken marble, all over. And so here, they did these plays. And the question would be is, if the people couldn't see what was going on, would they have stayed? Well, of course not. But then if they had lighting, and the lighting was all pointed to the people and not on where it should have been, would they have stayed? Of course not. The lighting is everything. Are we giving forth the light that the Father has called us to walk in? All right, so here I am, right here in the amphitheater area. The stage is all right there. Galilee is right here, the Sea of Galilee, which is really just a large lake. And I say large as in relatively speaking, because if you look at a lake, like it's nowhere comparison to Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, it's a lake, okay. But from my understanding back in the day, everything, any kind of body of water was just called a sea. Okay, so that's why it's called the Sea of Galilee. But the thing is, where this city is at right now, I'm looking at the southern tip of the Sea of Galilee, and right here, I don't know if you can see my finger pointing, that's the northern tip. It's all right here. From the southern tip to the northern tip, we see it all right at this amphitheater, the very climax of the city, if you will. So everybody would have seen this place on the whole Sea of Galilee. Now, the question is though, where is Yeshua getting this from about being the city on the hill as far as the concept? Why are we to be, making sure our light is to be shining in the world? Where is this found? Well, actually, it's in the Torah. Deuteronomy. See, I have taught you decrees and laws as Yahweh my God commanded me, so that you may follow them in the land you are entering to take possession of it. Observe them carefully, for this will show your wisdom and understanding to the nations. Right here he's saying, you're going to be the light to the nations. Continuing on, who will hear about these decrees and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Why would they be saying that? Because they're letting their light shine. They're letting His light shine. Verse 7, what other nation is so great as to have their gods near them the way Yahweh, our God, is near us whenever we pray to Him? And what other nation is so great as to have such righteous decrees and laws as this body of laws I am setting before you today? So it's the Torah. That's the light that we're supposed to be shining. I mean, Moses said it. Guys, these are righteous, holy decrees. Other nations are going to say, look at these people. Look at these righteous decrees that they're following. It's the Torah that we are supposed to be shining forth to the nations all around us. That is the light that we are supposed to be shining forth. In fact, it's interestingly enough, what do we find on the Mount of the Sermon on the Mount that was spoken right over there? If we read just a few more verses, we find that Yeshua is talking about the Torah too. Just after he gets done saying, you're the light on the hill, he gestures this way, he then says these words. Verse 17, do not think I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. I tell you the truth, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of a pen will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. Anyone who breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom. But whoever practices and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom. Verse 20, for I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven. So Yeshua is saying, guys, He didn't come to do away with the Torah. Again, He just talks about being the city on the hill. And then He says, you've got to follow the Torah. That's the light. Let everyone see the Torah, which is what it was intended to be, the light for the nations. Back in Deuteronomy, Yeshua is saying the exact same thing, guys. The exact same thing. And when He says, I have not come to abolish it, but to fulfill it, a lot of people try to say, well, fulfill means to do away with. No. I'm married. I have a wedding ring right here. If I am fulfilling my marriage vows, does that mean I'm doing away with them? No. I'm keeping them. I'm fulfilling the marriage vows with my wife. Yeshua is saying the same thing. When we fulfill them, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And He said, look, guys, unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, forget it. You're not going to go. And everyone's going, wait a minute. The Pharisees and teachers of the law, they followed the law. No, they didn't. Go to Acts. It's a book of Mark. Mark chapter 7. Yeshua says, you guys are not following the Torah. Matthew 23, Yeshua says, do what they say, but don't do what they do. Why? Because they don't practice what they preach. Guys, listen to me. We need to pursue the Torah with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength. Are we going to get it right? No, but we're trying. It's all about letting our light shine to the world around us. So as noted, this city is the only city on this whole hillside. It was the only beacon of light shining on this hill. Which begs the question, are you the only beacon of light that those around you have to see? If you are, what kind of light are you shining for them? Luke chapter 9. If anyone is ashamed of me and my words, the Son of Man will be ashamed of him when He comes in His glory and in the glory of the Father and the holy angels. So, are you letting His light shine wherever you go? Don't be the city on a hill that ends up like this one, in ruins. Shine His light for His glory, not for you to say what knowledge you have, how far you've come on this. No, His glory, not yours. Shine His light for Him. Well, that's all I have. Think about it. Pray about it. But more than anything, be a doer of the word and not a hearer only. Until next time, shalom.